NYYST. This is New York. Yankee sports talk. Swinging for the fences, knock it out the park. This is New York. Yankee sports talk. Christian and Chris, of course, SGR. This is New York. Yankee sports talk. Call me New York. Yankee sports talk. Record, rain or shine. Grab your shades and umbrellas. NYYST. You're hanging with the fellas.
NYYST podcast. We are live on NYYNewsTV. I'm your host, Christian, as always, joined by my co-host, Chris.
You.
What's up, bro? 300 shows. How you
300,
feeling?
man. Pretty good. The number doesn't matter to me anymore.
Supposed to crack one open to 300.
I'll spit one out. Here's why the number doesn't matter to me anymore. All it signifies to me is that we've done 300 episodes of this show.
The Yankees still have yet to win
over
the World
5
Series.
years. Over 5 years. And the Yankees still haven't won a World Series with us doing the show. So when that happens, we can look back on all these episodes and we can sit here and really take it all in. But until then, this means nothing until they win it.
Well, no, it does mean something, and it means a big thank you to the fans that have supported the show since day one, all the new fans that have come over since we joined NYYNewsTV. When we sat in my room that I'm sitting in right now and recorded the show, what was that, July, August of 2017?
I think it was August.
When we had Vic DiBitetto on for
our first
show.
guest.
What a goddamn train wreck that was. But
oh my God.
I mean, we'll always be grateful to Vic for joining us on that first show. Never in my wildest dreams did I think we'd be here 5 years later, 300 shows later. And a lot of that's because this is a passion for me, a passion for you. And also it's because of the fan support. If we didn't have the fans that when we announced the end at the end of the season last year, and people were like, no, you can't quit. And then Pete came to us with this offer, and we saw how grateful or excited people were that we were back. This is why we continue to do it. So thank you to you guys and you gals that listen and watch, 300 episodes. Cheers to you. This is actually your 300th episode. We're just here to entertain you for the hour and a half.
Yeah, and listen, I guess now is as good a time as any, and I meant to talk to you privately about this, but sometimes we just got to peel back the curtain on air because we're both busy. But I did speak with SGR. I know a lot of people have been asking about him. He's had some setbacks health-wise, and it's just for right now. I mean, it was something that we were going to circle back to eventually, but we did have a lengthy conversation, and for right now, his best, what he needs right now, what's best for him is to kind of take some more time personally and work, focus on his health and everything else. And he said he does want to start pumping out some content for us to use on the show and to put up on the Patreon. So he's actually starting that now. So head over to patreon.com/NYYST. Christian usually puts together a show once a week or so. SGR, like I said, is going to hopefully start pumping out some content. And he said once the Yankees are in the playoffs, he's going to try and take a trip down by me and do a show, down here. So hopefully he'll be back on for an episode or two in the postseason, but that's kind of where he's at right now. I didn't want to say anything publicly. I know a lot of people have asked about him. He's getting better. He got some good news from the doctor recently. But for right now, we're going to be holding it down indefinitely.
We just wish SGR the best in his recovery here. And, chair's always open for him when he wants to come back. The show is the best with SGR in it, but I think we've been doing our best to hold it down in his absence. So
absolutely.
We're live here on Saturday night. I wanted to do something special for the 300th episode, but I couldn't think of anything. So with night games on Sunday and night game on Monday, I said, we got an open night Saturday night. Let's, what's there for Yankee fans to do tonight? I mean, college football is fucking boring. I'm sorry. It just is. Until bowl season. I love bowl season. Maybe it's because I make it synonymous with the holiday season, and it's just something to do during that time period.
Yeah. Mm-hmm,
but up until then, I can't really get into college football. So join us. Let's, we'll talk about the Yankees, who are rolling right now, 6 in a row, I believe 10 out of their last 12. The American League East lead is up to 9. The magic number is down to 3. So, I mean,
is it 3 or 2?
No, it's 3.
3.
Unless
2 over the Rays, 3 over 3 for the Blue Jays.
3 for them to clinch. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm just mentioning what Michael K said, which I guess is pretty, irrelevant to even mention the Rays.
Michael K is irrelevant. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Listen.
Look, I was telling Pete before we came on there that I said last week that K should be the one to get the call, this home run, if it ever happens. I mean, come on, Aaron, let's go.
Okay.
But after listening to him today,
it was bad, dude. He kept talking about the silence, and he gave me like 10 different 2 on, 2 out, 2 on. Look, dude,
everybody was freaking out last night, and I get it from the perspective of not a lot of people, or as many people, were able to watch that game because it was on Apple. Oh, it's free, and you got people like Mark Feinstein, who I like. I don't have a problem with him. Be like, well, it's free. Well, great, it's fucking free. But my father's 66 years old, disabled, can't leave his fucking house, has the first fucking HD TV ever made.
Exactly. It's probably still fucking has the fucking knobs on it.
How is he getting the Apple TV app on that TV? Okay.
Right.
So I get it from that perspective. I'm lucky enough where I have access to all this stuff. Not everybody does.
No.
But the people are like, well, Apple TV's broadcast sucks and they'll ruin the call. Albert Pujols hit a 700 home run last night.
Yes.
It was on Apple TV.
Yeah, I got to talk about that with you in a minute.
I mean, to me, the call was perfect. I love that call because I love simplicity in those moments. On the radio, I understand. On the radio, it needs to be a little bit more because you need to have what's happening described to you. But when you can see it, it doesn't need to be described to you.
I'll say one thing though.
Okay.
You're seeing it from someone who is not attached to a voice that exemplifies or that represents the St. Louis Cardinals. You're seeing it from as a general baseball fan.
Aaron Judge could have hit a record tying home run, a historic home run last night on the Apple broadcast. And had they called it exactly like they called Pujols' home run, I would have no issue with it. The call was deep to left. There's 700, and they didn't say a word.
And they let it breathe.
And they let it play. And I would rather have that. And I'm being dead honest with you. I would rather have somebody call that who has only called 2 Yankee games all year, because this crew that called the Yankee game last night had a previous Yankee game. I'd rather have them say wherever Judge hit it, deep to center, there's 61, and let it lay out, than have Michael K narrate the whole thing for a minute and a half. Because to me, I've always held that I don't know if held that against him is the right thing to say, but it always bothered me how he didn't shut the fuck up after Jeter hit his 3,000th home run. I don't need you to tell me what's happening. I can see it. Yeah. John Sterling, on the other hand, yes, if he talked through the entire thing, I'd have no problem with it, because that's a radio call. What's happening needs to be described to you.
Yeah.
But when you can, and honestly, I know people shit on Joe Buck all the time. That's one of my things I always liked about Joe Buck. A ball was hit I remember a World Series call. I don't remember Houston.
And the Yankees are back on top.
It might have been Houston was in the World Series. It might have been in like when were they in the National? Like 04 when Pettit and Clemens were, or 05?
05.
A ball
05 was their last year in the National League?
Yeah, but they were in the World. No, because the Red Sox beat the Cardinals in 04. They were in the World Series in 05 when they lost to Chicago, I want to say. Whenever it was, right? A ground ball is hit to second base. He doesn't say anything. He just he just lets it play out. And then he adds the soundtrack when needed. Those are the best TV play-by-play guys. You don't need to ratchet the drama up. Like
Yeah.
Kay has to ratchet the drama up all the time. I can see, I can hear, and I understand there might be visually impaired people. There might be hearing impaired people that have the TV on. That's a very small percentage of what is happening. You don't have to ratchet this up a notch.
Here's what I noticed.
I don't even remember what he was. I'm sorry. I don't even remember what he was saying today, but it was just pissing me off because it's like he knew he had this extra audience. So now he had to show off. Like, shut the fuck up and let the fucking at
He kept talking about how it was so fascinating that everyone was so loud. And then before the pitch, it was silence.
And I remember the word
every at bat.
And then a crescendo. Shut up.
Yeah.
I know what crescendo means, okay? 90% of people watching the game will know what crescendo means. We don't need that word popped out to show your Fordham education during a baseball game.
Well, listen, here's something I did notice, and I don't know if you felt this in the moment, but first of all, every time Judge gets a good swing on it, even if in a normal time, you would know it's just a fly ball. Anytime he gets under it and it looks like a good swing, I'm fucking screaming. So in that, there was what was it? The first at bat last night, he got a pretty good piece on one, but it wasn't as good as the one the night before.
Was it the first at bat?
It was the first at bat. It was early to left.
Game, yes. Yeah, it was definitely early in the game.
And it was just a good, solid, smooth swing. And I immediately start screaming. And I'm holding my kids, like all my kids are next to me, and we're watching it and whatever.
He's got 8 kids.
Okay. And I'm screaming, and I realized if that was it, I don't even hear the call in the moment. I don't even hear it. I don't even care about it. It doesn't affect me in any way. For me, I think it was more of a sentimental thing for Michael Kay because he does so many games. Again, I'm not his biggest fan. I really don't care for him. But I just think it's, you do so many games watching the same players and, it's a big thing. And then to not be there for that moment kind of sucks. But
the weather's really iffy for tomorrow. But Kay and Cone will both be working that game for ESPN. Do you think they let them call Judges at bat?
Yep. I do.
From the studio, and then Cone will be in the booth.
Yeah, they're used to it. I mean, we're how many years removed now from when fans couldn't show up to the stadium, and Paul O'Neill's still fucking locked in his basement. So
that was embarrassing.
Embarrassing.
First of all, I want to know something. How did they get O'Neill Cruz an autographed jersey of Paul O'Neill if he's in his fucking basement?
Embarrassing.
How did they get him that autographed jersey? Did he FedEx it overnight?
Yeah, or one of them just forged it.
Or they just have these things laying around?
I think he signed a power of attorney, and then Coney signed it for him.
I mean, come on now. It's 2022.
They're never gonna let it go, dude.
You can let him in the fucking booth.
They're never gonna let it go.
All right. So it was Thursday night, man. Oh, my God.
I mean, come on.
I still got. I mean, honestly, I still got blue balls from that. That fucking cameraman deserves to get a fucking beating. By the way.
Yeah. I didn't hear Sterling's call right away, but I tweeted jokingly, like anyone listening still thinks Judge tied it.
No, but he
called it perfectly, man.
See, that's why I think that if that was a normal camera shot, we wouldn't have gotten as excited because
he got a good piece of it though.
Because the blind bat, and I love John Sterling. He was a guest on the show 200 episodes ago. Okay. We caught him when he was going to brunch. What do you guys want?
Oh, I forgot about the interview. I'll call you back when I'm done eating my eggs.
If you have not heard our interview with John Sterling, Apple Podcasts, go back to episode 100. It's still a great interview, even though it's 3 years old now, because he does go back into some of the history of his tenure with the Yankees. But for him to recognize off the bat that it really wasn't going out kind of shows that he's kind of locked into these at bats.
And they showed before the game, the wind was really bad at the stadium.
It's those goddamn Maris kids.
I almost tweeted today, but I just didn't feel like dealing with the assholes who would, just are just relentless. But I almost tweeted today, maybe the Marises should just stay home and keep Rogers fucking ghost out of the stadium.
Well, they said that they might go to Toronto.
Yeah, I know. That
Are
listen,
are they all vaccinated?
listen. Can
Because
I
then they
just
won't
say
be.
one thing?
Uh-huh.
The Maris family seems very nice, very respectful,
Uh-huh. But nobody likes your father.
and I think they've handled it pretty well. But
I think they have too, but nobody likes your
they
father.
openly, and Billy Crystal on Michael K's show kind of defended them a little bit.
Uh-huh. Here we go, Billy Crystal.
They're openly not okay with this record being broken.
Would you honestly though? Like I don't like Roger
Dude.
Maris. I'll be the first one to admit it. But if that was your dad, would you want somebody to break the only thing that's keeping him relevant in the history of the game? Like honestly, Roger Maris has a significant place in the history of baseball because of this record. As soon as Aaron Judge passes him, he's nobody. Like real.
No, but see, I disagree with you. I think that's the beauty of what Roger Maris did all those years ago. That he didn't compile the greatest career, but he will forever be etched in baseball history because of it. It's time to let go, guys. It's time. If you're here's how I would think of it. If anyone's going to beat my dad's record, I'm praying that Judge does it right now.
No, and I think I think that's kind of a whole. I think they're okay with that. I think they've said as much that if it's going to be anybody, a guy like Judge, but I think we have to be realistic in this, Chris. Yeah, it's great that Roger Maris. Look, we've all seen 61. It's not an embellishment. People hated Roger Maris because he wasn't Mickey Mantle. He wasn't a homegrown Yankee. The stress, the death threats, all that shit was real. And you do feel for him in that regard. Mm-hmm. Guy won 2 MVPs here, won a couple, I believe he won a couple titles with the Yankees, did pretty much everything that he was brought here to do. So, in that sense, it was wrong see, everybody's like, oh, look how they treat Stan. Well, this shit has been going on for Yankee fans for 60 goddamn years, bro. This is just how Yankee fans are. It's not an excuse for anything, but, it's nothing new either. But once Roger Maris is no longer the Yankee all-time home run leader, he kind of fades away in history. It's no longer chasing 61 Roger Maris, it's chasing whatever Judge sets the mark at. And, so I understand from their perspective, they really don't want it broken. But at the same time, nobody likes your dad. All right. Nobody likes him.
I guess my point is, it's like they're not teenagers. I mean, they're what? They got to be in their 50s, 60s. Like at some point, you gotta just kind of face the. What do? They sit home and they fucking watch tapes of their dad and like that they hold it so that dear to their heart.
Well, if your dad had,
I would be embracing it. It's been fucking 60 years, dude. You guys are on your way out.
Maybe they don't. Maybe they just want to have it to happen after they're gone. They don't have to see it.
See, I wouldn't. I would rather see it. I'd rather die knowing.
Well, you're not a Maris, okay?
I'd rather die knowing that I was the last Maris that people are going to remember.
Were you the one they tried to kidnap in the movie?
Think about that. Right? If they die and no one breaks it, no one fucking talks about them. But if Judge breaks it, everyone talks about, the kids were there. And yeah, Roger's kids showed up at every game. They were so respectful, blah, blah, blah. And hey, now they're in history.
Yeah, but at that moment, but then going forward in history, it's forgotten.
Forgotten. You're right about that. You are.
So, I mean, hopefully this happens tomorrow. If they get the game in,
I thought it was going to happen today. I really, if the Shadows didn't get so bad in that last at bat, I really think he would.
You know what? And I got to give a lot. I got to give a lot of credit to Nick Pivetta, man. He wasn't afraid. He was not afraid to be the guy. Yeah, no,
kudos to him, man. He went fucking right. What, he threw him 3 straight fastballs in that first at bat?
I think he threw him like 5 out of 6 of, even if you count the next at bat, like 5 out of 6 pitches he threw him were fastballs. So I got to give him.
I haven't seen Judge see that many fastballs in how long?
I mean, you've seen guys that wanted no part of being the guy to give up this home run. And Pivetta was like, "Hey, I'm going to go at him," and I respect that. And he said after the game today, he didn't like the special balls that they put in play because they're not rubbed up enough. But he goes, for what this guy is going after, he deserves to have that happen for him. So I respect what he did and what he said. even though he's a member of the Red Sox, you still got to respect the way he approached it. Alex Cora says and does two different things, though. He said that he wasn't here to give Judge a vacation for him, or whatever the hell he said, and then they walked him a bunch of times on Thursday. But
yeah, I don't think those walks were really. I wouldn't categorize them as the typical intentional walk. He still got some all weekend long. He's gotten some.
He
good
has
pitches
had
to hit.
He has had pitches to hit, which then people are like, he's pressing. Well, is he pressing, or is it just it's hard to hit home runs? I mean, I know he's made it look so easy this year, but
yeah, I mean, I did the average, and I think it was at 59. This is right after he hit 59. He was averaging like one home run every 2.4 games or so. And that
he hasn't hit one.
And that would, but at the time, whenever I did, I think it would translate. Oh no, it wasn't at 59. Sorry. It was when he was at 57, maybe. And it translated for him to do it in Toronto. And then he went on more of a tear. And now
he hit 3 in 2 games.
Right, exactly. So that's why. But it's going to play out where he could possibly do it in Toronto anyway. And
if he doesn't hit it tomorrow, I want him benched all 3 games in Toronto. It should not happen in Toronto.
That have you ever been to that stadium?
It's a dump.
It's a fucking dump, dude.
That record should not be broken in fucking Canada. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Yeah, you could put an asterisk next to it. Just for that alone.
Speaking of Canada, poor John Heyman will never get the answer to his burning question of whether Andrew Benintendi is vaccinated or not.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Poor John.
I got to give John Heyman credit. The last few weeks though, I never thought I'd say it, but John Heyman's been the one, prominent reporter out there that's been kind of not scared to say people are ridiculous for suggesting anyone but Aaron Judge is the MVP. So I'll give it to him. I'll give it to him.
Well, people like to make shit up about Aaron Judge, because did you hear this one? Howard Reynolds said that the Yankees and Angels were on the doorstep of making a trade for Judge.
Yeah.
I like how Harold Reynolds is the only person in the entire world that knew that was happening.
Yeah.
And Randy Levine came out and said that he was being irresponsible.
Doubtful.
I do vaguely remember hearing that the Angels called and Aaron Judge's name was brought up, but that doesn't mean anything, because every player in every sport's name gets brought up in trades.
When is he suggesting this happened? This trade deadline?
No, before the season started.
Yeah, doubtful.
Because if this was as close to being done as Harold Reynolds said, do you think somebody else would have picked up on this? These guys break every news story, every rumor hits Twitter. This didn't hit Twitter? It would have been the biggest story of the offseason.
Why would the Yankees have offered him anything if they were even thinking about trading him?
This is an interesting point that Pete brought up while we were waiting to come on. Is did Judge say no, and then these trade discussions happened? We don't know when this ultimatum was put in front of him with this 217. That could have been, they could have spoken right before the morning opening day. Judge said no, and then that could have been it. It could have been 3 days out, 10. We don't know. We don't know all the facts here, but I'd be willing to guarantee you that the Yankees and the Angels were not in agreement basically to trade Aaron Judge. That did not happen.
So you just reminded me when you said earlier that Pujols hit 700 on Apple TV. I said I wanted to mention something.
Okay.
I don't know if you'll know this, but does Apple TV set the games before the season starts, or do they add games and buy games as the season progresses?
I believe it's all scheduled. That they buy a package.
So it's just pure coincidence.
It was pure. I believe it was pure coincidence that they had both
that
those
they
games
could have
last night.
possibly had Judge breaking that record and Pujols going for 700.
Yeah, because think about the outcry if Yes originally had that game and it was stolen from them. So that's why I'm going to go under the assumption that this was part of their when they purchased their packages. These were the games they were given or they took preseason, because could you have imagined what you saw how upset people were yesterday. Now imagine if they knew that Yes had this game and Apple took it from them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So 61 hopefully comes tomorrow night against the Red Sox before the Yankees hit the road here. We've seen a lot of good things out of the Yankees the past couple of days. I mean, I'm going to briefly talk about this because I don't want to waste any more fucking energy on this guy. I said it last week until the postseason is we finally – I don't – see, look, I'm not going to commend him for anything. And I do think that it was kind of bitchy what he did last night, but maybe, and I'm saying this because I told you last week, I still need to hold on to this, that maybe he's finally reached his fucking breaking point. Maybe.
No, he's reached his mental breakdown, maybe.
And he can only come up from here.
No.
Because granted, I know a lot of people on social media were like last night, how could you bitch about that? It was a strike. On all these K boxes, it hit the bottom of the zone, at least the ones that I saw. So he had every right to be upset about that. But here's where you separate yourself from everybody else. Make another good pitch. That's what you're paid to do. So that's all.
I'll just say real quick, there was someone that innocently tweeted a video of CC getting thrown out and compared it to Cole. And no, listen, CC used to get thrown out because he was a fucking competitor. CC.
Well, that's wrong. I don't think you can fairly say that Gerrit Cole is not a competitor out there.
No, he's not. No. Okay,
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to disagree with you on that.
Whoa. Let me correct myself. I'm not saying that he's not. What I'm saying is in that moment, he's not getting tossed because he's a competitor. He's getting tossed because, like you said, he's hitting his breaking point. That was not a competitor. No, that he hit his breaking point. He fucking failed because he once again imploded and facing adversity.
All right.
Facing a bad call, something he couldn't control. Okay, then loses focus on what he can control. Gives up the home run.
Yes.
And then he had a temper tantrum. Okay. You weren't looking at a guy who's dominant on the mound and pissed off because once in a blue moon, messed up because of a bad call. You were looking at a guy who for the last season and a half now has fucking been pretty bad for what he's here to do. And it was his boiling point, and he had a temper tantrum. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this will be the moment that brings him back. I think it just makes him look worse. And I mentioned this last night. You're having a fucking temper tantrum and getting tossed from a game when Judge can tie a record that's hasn't been broken in 61 years. And now, the second you get tossed and lose your emotion, that your manager has to come out and he has to get tossed. So what? Then Judge hits 61 and both of you are sitting in the clubhouse because you couldn't control yourself because you don't know how to handle an umpire making a bad call. How many pitchers every single day get bad calls?
And these umpires should be punched in the face for it.
Yeah, some of them are really bad, dude. Some of them are really bad.
Like, honestly, if you think about it today, you asked me if I thought that was a strike on the check swing that Judge got called out on. And on a normal day, you could probably say, but you can't. It's the ump show. You can't make it about yourself at that point. That's Aaron Judge going for a fucking record. It's close enough where you could let it go, but you had to make it about yourself.
I think that moment.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick, in that moment, I don't want to say Judge is necessarily pressing, but it's obvious, he understands the weight of this, obviously. And I think you saw in that call that you never see that kind of a negative emotion out of Judge. And that's what made me think
he's
it
not
wasn't
a
as
competitor either now.
No. That's what made me think it wasn't as close as it actually was. when Judge started. So because it was a borderline call and Judge reacted that way, you can tell he really wanted to do this at home. And he knew how many fucking eyes were on him.
Of course he doesn't want to do this in Canada, bro. He doesn't want people fucking not cheering because they're too busy eating their poutine. Okay.
If that stadium, when's the last time that stadium's been packed?
When the last time they were in the postseason? I don't know, whenever that was.
I don't even know who it was then. That was when but the Batista home run?
Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I guess we'll see with Cole. Like we both said last week, it doesn't matter anymore regular season with him.
You know what?
He's getting the ball. We just gotta hope and stay optimistic that he's gonna turn into the guy we need him to.
But here's the thing about Gerrit Cole, and it's not. I'm not praising him in any way by saying this. It's just a dichotomy of what he is as a pitcher. Is that he has these moments where he just completely melts down, but these moments of utter dominance. We're going to talk about Aaron Judge breaking Roger Maris's record. He's going to break Ron Guidry's single season strikeout record. That is probably, I think if you ask anybody who would know these things, the greatest single pitching season in the history of the Yankees. And I know strikeouts are different 78 versus 2022, but still, it just goes to show you that now Gerrit Cole's name is going to go in the record book. And unless the Yankees win the World Series this year, and Gerrit Cole is a big part of that, what are you going to think about this year for Gerrit Cole? That he had a record-breaking season, or that he was fucking terrible?
Yeah, no one cares about that record. When you know, I said this the other day, he's just as bad as the hitters who are strikeout or home run, strikeout or fucking, you know, he's the Joey Gallo of pitching this year.
I don't
he's
know.
He's either
let's not go that far.
He's either striking guys out or he's giving up home runs.
Yeah, Amy, you got to get on this guy. Okay. Speaking of Amy Cole, okay. So I took my daughter and wife's apple picking today.
Okay.
And they had a pony ride. My daughter's obsessed with two things: dogs and horses, and she tries to ride the dog, even though I tell her not to.
Okay.
So we found out she went for her first pony ride today, and this fucking jerk off cut in front of my wife, and I was ready to fucking go. Like, really, I'm seething at this moment because there's literally nothing I can tolerate less than my kid being disrespected, and I felt this fucking jerk off stepping in front of my wife was disrespecting my kid, and I was getting, my wife saw me. She says, "Don't say anything." And what the fuck do you mean, don't say anything? She goes, "You're gonna cause a scene at a pony ride?" I go, "This guy just fucking walked in front of us. I mean, if it's not cause a scene now, when am I going to do it?"
Never. You got to cause the scene.
Okay. So I didn't say anything because I didn't want to, you know, I wanted my kid to ride. I said, "All right, I'll ride the pony."
Okay.
Now I know what being a cuck feels like. Now I know what Gerrit Cole feels like.
You're a cuck. And I forgot to wish my wife a happy birthday last weekend.
Oh,
on the show. So,
Meg, happy birthday,
Meg. I love you. Happy birthday. Okay.
So, positivity, right? Yanks are rolling right now. They're about to clinch the American League East in a couple of days here. They kind of turned the corner here. Guys are back. So, what's going to happen on October 11th, besides the big event in the Bronx? Go to NYYST for all the information. Shameless plug. Okay. You see how I transitioned to that? Okay. But that's also going to be game one in the ALDS. The Yankees could be facing a huge roster crunch here. Think about it like this. Aaron Hicks is batting .500 since he opened his mouth, by the way. Just pointing that out, okay?
Couldn't care less.
Maybe he should have said something. Oh, I don't know, dude. He called himself a 30-30 guy, and he proceeded to have the worst year of his career. So I don't know about opening his mouth any earlier would have done him any good. But, I mean, you want to say you got to back up your talk. At least this time he has. So we'll see what happens here. Even though he should have never seen the fucking field again, because if he was playing on my team, I would have fucking benched his ass on Sunday. And I would have made sure that he didn't play another game for this team as long as I was the manager. But hey, you know, might want to talk about cucks. All right, Aaron Boone. Okay. Anyway, hopefully Aaron Hicks is not in play here. But right now, I like the outfield. Yeah, how do you not like this outfield? The Cabrera, Bader, and Judge.
Really loving Cabrera, man.
But
Really loving.
the hope for the Yankees is Andrew Benintendi, who has been basically ruled out for the regular season, is going to be a player in October. How do you take Oswaldo Cabrera out of this lineup?
You can't.
How do you? But you traded Andrew Benintendi for this exact reason.
Well, there's someone who I feel. I guess not, because Peraza is dead, right?
Well, I mean, he has definitely turned into Ben Mortvet.
Is there a way Cabrera? I mean, Cabrera in the infield at this point doesn't make sense either, because he's been so good in the outfield.
But this also presents another issue. Do you even activate DJ LeMahieu?
Ooh.
You have to think about it like this. Boone has already come out and said DJ LeMahieu is not going to be 100% for the rest of the season. We've seen DJ LeMahieu not be 100%. He is not a good baseball player. He's
completely a shell of himself.
Okay. Rizzo's healthy. He's your first baseman. Gleyber Torres is hot right now.
Hottest he's been as a Yankee, I think.
You can't touch Gleyber Torres.
No.
Yankees are not moving.
And hold on, Gleyber Torres in the postseason has been very good.
Yeah, okay. Yankees are not. If they haven't done it yet, they're not gonna. IKF is your shortstop.
Well, yeah, that would be the only.
But that doesn't. But IKF not being a shortstop does not solve any of the problems,
right.
Unless I guess you want Cabrera to play shortstop.
No.
Okay. And Donaldson, defense alone warrants him being the third baseman. And he's been better since he had the kid.
He has been.
And we've all said that maybe this is the guy that wakes up in October and has that big run in him in October. And I think we've seen he's been clutch. You have to say that more, maybe not more so than not, but he's had a knack for these moments. He has 4 walk-off hits this year.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 3 and a sac fly, but still. It counts as a walk-off. Okay. So he's had a knack for these moments. So he's kind of a guy that, as much as I call him Wash Donaldson, I really don't want to take him out of lineup come October.
No, can't.
So where do these guys fit in? Where do these guys fit in? If Andrew Benintendi is healthy, 100% stamped healthy, ready to go, is he on the bench? Is Cabrera on the bench? Like, where do you go in that situation? Harrison Bader's here for 5, has played 5 games, 6 games, whatever it's been as a Yankee. You have seen in that handful of games why he was worth Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah, and we got to talk about that for a second too. Because I feel like too many people are saying, ever since Bader came, who I fucking love this guy, dude. I love Harrison Bader from the second he stepped on the field. Great. Going to be a great fit on this team, in this lineup. Love him.
Before you get to your point, somebody compared him to this team as Nick Swisher. You like that comparison?
Yeah, it's a great comparison. It really is. But here's my problem with the people like, haven't seen any of the Jordan Montgomery tweets of late ever since Bader. Bader's talent was never the reason people had an issue with the Jordan Montgomery trade. Even us, we said we don't really know what he is. We don't know. The biggest issues that people had with Jordan Montgomery, let's not get it twisted. Let's not always go right to giving Cashman praise now and saying we were wrong. Our issue with the Jordan Montgomery trade was that it didn't fucking make sense. He didn't get another pitcher. Our rotation got worse at the deadline. And the second issue was simply that Bader was injured. And if you remember, they couldn't even be 100% sure that he would be healthy enough to come back this year.
They traded for the guy and he didn't play for them for 6 weeks. I mean, let's not lose sight of that.
That was the issue. Now, if you want to now take it into context now and forget about all that, I can see why the Yankees made the trade, of course. Bader is someone. Here's another issue with it, though. We thought it would eventually spell the end of Aaron Hicks, and it hasn't. So that's another issue with it. It had never had anything to do with questioning if we were getting back a guy who could be more valuable than Jordan Montgomery.
It spelled the end of Aaron Hicks as a starting player, though. It has. I mean, they spot start him. He plays, but for them to rely on him day in and day out, it has at the very least, it has led to that.
Fine.
We don't have to look at his name in the lineup every day.
But listen, Bader fits in perfectly with this team. He brings another level of energy that this team needs, and he's a fucking phenomenal defender. Phenomenal out there.
I've been watching baseball for 35 years. I've never seen a guy get set in throwing position as he catches the ball like Harrison Bader does.
It's like he snorts a line of coke before the ball is hit, and he's just got all this amped up fucking energy waiting for it to land in his glove.
So, Bader's stamped himself as a center fielder. I mean, we don't have to even bring up Judge's name. We know he's playing in right field. I mean, you want to talk about guys that bring this energy and enthusiasm and brings a different kind of spark to the team. That's what Oswaldo Cabrera has done, and he's been hitting a lot better. I think Pete said he's hitting like 278 over his last 7 games or whatever it is. You've seen the pop in the bat now. I mean, how do you take this guy out of the lineup?
And he's great in the outfield too.
But at the same time, it's like if Andrew Benintendi's healthy, this is what you got this guy for. So it's like you got to make a hard decision here somewhere.
Well, where is he better? He's better on the left side of the plate.
Who?
Cabrera.
He has. I mean, we've definitely seen he's got way more pop from the left side of the plate, for sure.
Yeah, so you can't even talk about a platoon because a righty is going to be.
Yeah, because Benintendi's a lefty. So
yeah. I don't know, man.
You make you're Aaron Boone, make the hard decision. Who's playing game one if Benintendi's healthy? Make the hard decision.
It's really, we got to take emotion out of it. It's really not a hard decision. I think Andrew Benintendi is the more seasoned vet. He's been there before. And although Cabrera has been great, been a big boost to this team, his bat's coming around. You have to just look at the dynamic of this lineup with Benintendi, Bader, everyone else is much more lethal than Cabrera in there, in my opinion.
I want to say much more lethal.
I think Benintendi's this team needs contact hitters, man.
Yeah, but you said it's not
puts
even
the ball in the
play. Just said
play.
It's not a hard. It is a hard decision. You can't make it's not a hard. I mean, it is a hard decision. That's tough to take this kid out of lineup the way he's played, and now we're in the postseason. You're gonna be like, okay, you're on the bench. I mean, if I'm filling out the lineup card, I have to agree with you. I would, for at least game one, I would start Benintendi. But if he doesn't look right or he takes an 0 for 4. I make the switch. I don't give him time to break out of it if I'm not starting Cabrera. That's my take on it.
Here's my thing. We've seen the Yankees do this way too many times where they don't follow up enough. They don't have the right answers, and they let these guys go out there, and they're not 100% healthy. When it comes to Benintendi right now, because of how good Cabrera's been, I need to be 100% sure if I'm the Yankees that he's 100% healthy.
But that's why I said he is. He's 100% cleared to go. That is why, conversely, as controversial, quote unquote, as this might be, I don't want to activate DJ LeMahieu if he's not 100%. Why are you going to shoehorn him into the lineup? I get it. He's DJ LeMahieu. He's been clutch. He's a great hitter. He's very versatility, and he's good pretty much everywhere you put him. But why are you going to shoehorn him into the lineup when you've seen him be a subpar hitter while injured, knowing that you don't have anywhere you can put him?
Yeah, no,
He's not
I
gonna,
think you're right about that. I
he's
don't think
not
they're
gonna play. He's not gonna play first base. He's not gonna play second base. You cannot take Gleyber Torres and put him at shortstop. You'll ruin whatever goodwill you have with Gleyber Torres, moving him to shortstop, and you're not going to play him at third base.
What
So
about Cabrera at third? What about him at third?
What are you going to do with Donaldson?
I don't know, man. I mean, I like Donaldson, and you made great points about him before, and he's been clutch and he's been much better. But if we're talking about who Cabrera should play over, I don't know that it's Benintendi more than Donaldson.
Wait, say that again. Benintendi should play more over Donaldson, or the other way around?
No. I'm saying if we're talking about who Cabrera should play over,
okay.
I don't think the debate should he play over Benintendi. I think you can make
should
more
he play
of
over
a case
Donaldson?
that he could play over Donaldson. But
yeah, but I don't think the Yankees
make too many good points.
The Yankees are not going to mess with this infield.
I think he loses in either case. I think Benintendi wins if you argue that, and I think Donaldson wins if you argue that because of the defense and because, like you said, he's been clutch. But all I'm saying is I think the better argument is for Donaldson over.
No,
Benintendi.
I think the better argument is for Benintendi.
I got to see him. I mean, I got to see if he's healthy.
The better argument is for Benintendi because he hasn't played since what has it been, a month now already?
Yeah, but Christian, Brian Cashman can't have his big trade deadline deal not in the postseason lineup.
Oh, you mean like his other one who's injured and won't make the postseason rotation? You mean that guy?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You know that the Seattle Mariners extended Luis Castillo today?
Did they?
Yeah.
He went there. He's not a Yankee.
No.
Imagine he was a Yankee.
I believe the deal was 5 for 108 with a vesting option makes it 6 for 130. And the Seattle has some type of protection in it if he gets Tommy John surgery, where that option kicks in and they only have to pay him $5 million in that 6th year.
Ooh, they would be the opposite for the Yankees. Cashman would pay him more if he had Tommy John.
So let's bring up Brian Cashman, okay? Unless you have any, I mean, are you settled on this debate of who's going to be on the roster? Would you say that if you're the Yankees, would you leave DJ LeMahieu off the postseason roster based on all this information?
Man, I got to tell you, I didn't think about it, but your points are too valid. They make too much sense for them.
I'm smart.
But hey, it goes back to our famous question on the show.
Smarter Yankees.
Smarter Yankees. So who knows?
So, I mean, I don't think honestly, I don't think they will. I don't think they would. I think the more likely thing would be is that they activate him, don't start him. He's just on the bench. And
look,
and that might be a good role. Honestly, that would
be a good role. If he's admittedly he's not going to be 100%. Having DJ LeMahieu off the bench is never a bad situation.
No, see, I think now that I think about it more, so I think activating him would be a good idea, but not starting him. He'd be a bench player if you want to pinch hit for IKF late in the game, or if you want to pinch hit for Trevino late in the game. You can use LeMahieu in a situation like that, and then you can have, even if Benintendi does start over Cabrera, then you have Cabrera to fill the hole defensively late in the game. So I like this. This is brainstorming, bro.
This is it. This is what the conversations should sound like at the Yankee roundtable. Instead, I think it's just a bunch of computers printing out papers. But this is what it should sound like because you come up with some logical answers. Unlike
this one, I'm feeling really good about this team over the last week or so, and I think we all should because they've gotten relatively healthy. They're playing better baseball. Mm-hmm. All the doubts that we had about them, I'm not saying the doubts about them going all the way, but the doubts about them blowing this division or winning this division are gone. They're going to win the division now. Okay. They've been playing better. Rizzo's back. I think that was such a huge thing for this team, getting Rizzo back.
Getting Rizzo back healthy.
Healthy. Okay.
Healthy.
He had the tie-breaking home run to win it today. Okay.
Okay.
But surprisingly, to me anyway, Zach Britton was activated. Said that it was his they said that what do you call it? His rehab was done. It was just a matter if or when they were going to activate him, and then like an hour later, like, oh, Zach Britton's going to be activated for the game today. Oh, great. Now we met Zach Britton. I don't have to get into the story again. I've always rooted for Zach Britton because of what he did on the day that we met him.
Stand-up guy.
He's a real good guy, so I've always rooted for him. But now I'm rooting for the Yankees to win the World Series.
Yeah.
And he's got no spot on this team. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, well, really, if you think about it now, we did trade Miguel Andujar for something. And it was for Cashman to see if Britton had anything left with 2 weeks before the postseason starts.
Well, let's work down that train. Let's work down the tracks on this one, okay? So Zach Britton comes back. He was on a 60-day IL, which means that he wasn't on the 40-man roster. Yankees 40-man is filled up. Who's going? Now, I know everybody gets upset every time the Yankees make a roster move and it's not Aaron Hicks, but when it comes to pitchers on the 26-man roster, it has to be for a pitcher. There's limitations on how many pitchers you can have versus hitters. So when Britton got activated, they couldn't get rid of another position player because I believe they had hit their limit or whatever it was. So they had to who ended up going down anyway? It was Greg Weissert went down. So who I think, even though he just this little sidebar in Greg Weissert, I think what we've seen out of him, people got excited because of how dominant he was in AAA. I think he serves a role in a major league bullpen. Will he ever be a dominant top level, back ended bullpen guy? I don't know, but I think he serves a nice role on a major league ball club as like a middle reliever.
Yeah.
He's got good stuff, but if he doesn't throw strikes, he's going to get hit.
He's a guy that you maybe put in a game, mid innings, fifth, sixth inning in a game that you're losing by 2-3 runs,
and hope that he just
to keep
holds
it close.
Right,
yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly.
So, all right. So somebody's got to go off the 40-man roster. Miguel Andujar was just optioned the other day. Then boom. Miguel Andujar's DFA'd to get the 40-man spot. So now, everybody that wants to defend Brian Cashman, and there are some. Look, we're not going to come out and say that Brian Cashman has done nothing good, especially
He's done a lot good,
especially in these recent times. He's done plenty of good stuff, even in these recent times. But when you've been the general manager for however long he's been, in '98 he took over with the organization since '86, and then you now know that the Royals fired their general manager. So that means every GM or president of baseball ops that won the World Series from 12 to 18 no longer has their job. And Brian Cashman, who last won a World Series in 09, still has his. You have to call these things into question, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, people can argue with me all that they want to, okay? Facts are facts, whether or not you wrote for some stupid little small newspaper or not. The Pittsburgh Pirates wanted, among other things, in the deal for Gerrit Cole, they wanted Miguel Andujar, they wanted Clint Frazier.
Correct.
The New York Yankees would not put both of those guys in the deal. The New York Yankees now, within the last 12 months, have both designated Clint Frazier and Miguel Andujar for assignment.
Correct.
This is a guy in Gerrit Cole. Now, this is not – look, I think – people get twisted on this Gerrit Cole argument because of what Gerrit Cole is in 2022. That doesn't mean that this was what the Yankees should have done because of what happened. No, this means that the Yankees, time and time again, have not shown the willingness to go above and beyond with their prospects.
Mm-hmm.
And again, time and time again, these guys are just not panning out. We can look at it and say, oh, well, Peraza is going to be our starting shortstop. They'll move Volpe to a different position. What gives you any type of confidence that's going to happen? Because the Yankees called the guy up. He's played 4 games. They wouldn't put him in a trade. Just the fact that the Yankees wouldn't put him in a trade alone says to me he's garbage.
Yep.
Because the guys they don't trade, it makes me really worry about them. Because if the Yankees have confidence in them to not trade them, I look at these two guys and say, hey, we could have had a Gerrit Cole in 2018 when the Yankees really needed Gerrit. I mean, the Yankees needed Gerrit Cole in 2020. Let's not forget that either. But would the Yankees have won the World Series in 2018, 2019 with Gerrit Cole? It's impossible to say. It really is. But was that the move for the Yankees to make in going into the 2018 season when they had no starting pitching and this guy was available to them, a guy that Brian Cashman desperately wanted? Then you look back 5 years and they got absolutely nothing for the two guys they refused to put in a trade for him.
Yes. I mean, look, here's how I break down Cashman for everybody. I just said he's made a lot of good moves, a lot of great moves. I'm not going to argue that. But here's the thing with Cashman. If you take almost all of his moves in a vacuum, they all make a lot of sense. Regardless of what Frazier was supposed to be, were you mad they DFA'd him? Just in a vacuum, was it a bad move to DFA?
No,
right.
Not the moment.
Was it a franchise breaking move to DFA Miguel Andujar?
No.
Was it a terrible move to get Montas, who we know is much better than he's been?
No.
Okay. So you take all these moves in a vacuum here and you look at them one by one and they make sense. And that's where people come out and they defend Brian Cashman. Brian Cashman's been here a long time. You can't take his moves like that. You have to put context to him. And when you look at the Frazier Andujar thing, that they've both been DFA'd with, I'm sorry, I'm just so frustrated by it because this is a move in itself. This simple fact that these two guys were the reason why he didn't get Gerrit Cole in 2018. They have both been released. That in itself is enough to fire Brian Cashman, to not re-sign Brian Cashman. Like if Hal's sitting there saying, if he's not sitting there saying anything less than a World Series and I'm not bringing Cashman back, if he's not sitting there saying that, I don't know what will ever do it. Nothing.
I think his evaluation of talent, or the people he hires to evaluate talent, it needs a drastic overhaul. Because think about it like this, right? I think Gerrit Cole, the expectation of what Gerrit Cole needed to be would have been a lot different in 2018 versus what he is now. He was brought here to be the record-breaking contract, be the savior, the ace. Would we have looked at him that way in 2018? I don't know about that. I think we would have. I think if you look at the numbers, the strikeout numbers, the 3.44 ERA, how overall what he's been as a number two of what he kind of was. I mean, it does change the outlook on a guy like that too. You know what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm trying to say there?
Yeah, but here's the
thing. I may not be
thing.
articulating it perfectly, but I also think that if they make that trade in 2018, I think what we expect out of Gerrit Cole and a lot of the venom we have towards him might not even be there.
Yeah, well, I've said this before. My wife's uncle's been a scout in Major League Baseball for a very long time. And he told me last summer, there's a lot of old school scouts still out there. And anyone he talks to affiliated with the Yankees is just not in good spirits, because it's a lot of old school guys. And the talk of the league is that Brian Cashman, a lot of teams balance the statistics, the computer metrics with old school, scouts who see talent and can pick out talent and so on and so forth. And they do a good job mixing it. He said Brian Cashman has gone so far off the deep end Guys don't even want to work for him anymore. Scouts don't even want to be there anymore. He's too analytically driven. And I think that kind of goes back to what you just said with that, who's evaluating the talent. It's a fucking computer. Everyone jokes about it, but it's true. And so is a computer going to always spit out the correct, projections doing the mathematics? Yes. But we all know we're all old enough to know and have watched enough games and enough talent to know that baseball is not a sport that you can just trust the computer. It's why we do the eye test. And we always say, why can we see this, but the Yankees don't, and they make the wrong move? Because the computer doesn't have that human element. If a computer were evaluating Derek Jeter back in the day, he would have never been a Yankee. Ever.
All right. Well, I don't know. IBMs might be better.
Maybe.
All you need to know about this is that the information that came out after Joey Gallo got traded to the Dodgers is that there were people inside the Yankee organization that told Cashman and his people that wanted Gallo that, listen, this is not a guy that will thrive in New York. His personality does not fit here, but they ignored it because that does not show up on any stat sheet that they can print out of their computer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're a Yankee fan, if you're a diehard Yankee fan, and I believe if you listen to this show, you are, because why would you take us assholes in if you're not just hungry for Yankee content, right? How are you not at least a little mad when that news comes out that Miguel Andujar gets designated for assignment? Not even that, like you said, is it a franchise-changing thing that Miguel Andujar got traded for designated? No, it's not. But just the fact that we know we could have got Gerrit Cole in 2018 and he didn't want to trade. You got nothing out of either of these guys. Nothing. That is like I said last week, that's what scares you about Aaron Hicks, that he's healthy and he's been this bad. This is what scares you about Brian Cashman, is that these guys don't get traded. They don't produce at the major league level for your club. And then they're gone for nothing. Nothing. If you want to say anything about the Gary Sanchez trade, is at least you got guys in IKF and Josh Donaldson that have at least led to a few wins this year.
Yeah. Well, listen, I thought about this the other day. Who's the dude the prospect they traded that's been pitching really well?
Wisniewski.
Yeah. Okay. Wisniewski, right?
Because Waldichuk sucks. He was pitching versus the Mets today. He's got an ERA of almost 8.
The Wisniewski kid, everyone's going crazy over him. He's pitched 4 games. He's been great.
Yeah, but if he was a Yankee, you would never seen him.
Okay, so this is going to be my point. I think the biggest issue I have with Brian Cashman is that he does this thing where he won't trade any of the prospects, and everyone praises him because they're so valuable. And then he also doesn't get the guys needed to put the team together to be a World Series caliber team. And he goes out and gets these second-rate guys hoping for, lightning in a bottle. And then he never calls the kids up. If that kid was on the Yankees still, we wouldn't see him for another 6 years. And by then, he's probably fucking, you got to call these kids up. You know how much confidence this dude probably has right now?
Oh, yeah,
do you know how much he can build on that now and become a better major league player than he probably should be?
Do you know how much, honestly, we don't know this for sure, but you know how much better Oswaldo Cabrera is going to be in the future just because he's had this?
Yes. It's
and
true.
The worst thing the Yankees ever did was call up Peraza. The worst thing they ever did was gaslight us on that Thursday night and call this kid up to not play him. If that was your plan to shut us up, then you first of all, that's never the way you should run your organization. That's another check mark for firing Brian Cashman. And number 2, you want to talk about stunting a guy's development. Why is he not down in Scranton playing every day? That is way to me, honestly. What's better for Oswald Peraza? Sitting on the Yankees bench or playing in Scranton every day? Why? Because the meals are better in the fucking Bronx as opposed to Scranton? No. This kid should be playing fucking baseball every single day until you're ready to start him. He's played what? Look it up. I'll look it up right now. How many? I'll even give them credit for the games he's pinch running. How about that?
How about the game where he made his debut in the 9th inning?
I'll give him credit for that one too. How about that? You want me to be a nice guy?
Yeah. Why not? Why not? Because that move was strictly to shut people up.
11 games he's played in. 11.
And like you said, that's inflated. It's very inflated.
Inflated because he pinch ran the other night. That's one. Two, the game in Tampa when he got called up. So what's he really played in? He's got 29 at Major League plate appearances. Divide that by 4. So what's he really played? 7 games?
Crazy.
8?
Here's exactly why he did it. So that at the end of the year, when everyone says, oh, they didn't call up the big names in the minor leagues and the prospects. And yeah, I did. We called up, look at Cabrera. Sorry, you were not expecting Cabrera to be this good. We called up Peraza. You sat him on the bench. It's the gaslighting. It's the constant gaslighting. It's exactly what it was when he came on opening day 10 minutes before first pitch to throw his best fucking player that he has under the bus. It's gaslighting. It's ego saving. And I'm sick of it. And at the end of the day, if you want to just look at it objectively and take the emotion or any anger or frustration we have from Cashman and put it aside, sometimes things just run their course and sometimes things get stale. And this organization for the last few years has been so predictable. And to me, when a team becomes predictable, when anything becomes too predictable, the first thing I think of is that something's stale. Something needs change. And the Yankees are beyond predictable at this point. And it's because we have the same operation with the same people over and over. And it's as simple as the Yankees just need to move on and need change at this point. It can be as simple as that.
There's poop in the diaper. Okay.
That's it. That's it. You got to change the diaper.
There's 2 things that I'm going to, now I think I forgot one of them. It comes to me, I'll bring it up. But there's one thing that I want to specifically mention because it's been bothering me all week. And it's Boomer Esiason. Okay. Every single time the Yankees win a game, he rails for Brian Cashman. He's like, Josh Donaldson had a big hit last night. Who brought him in? Brian Cashman.
Mm-hmm.
That is the type of thinking that I don't like. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because he's looking at it from somebody that doesn't follow the team day to day. He's not looking at it from somebody that follows the team with a passion for it like we do. He's looking at it as somebody that has to have a baseline knowledge to do a radio show and just sees these things in a, like you want to say, in a vacuum.
That's it. That's the extreme vision when you're taking it game by game. Right. But again, Donaldson could have been great this year. And that's still not the move that this team needed. IKF could have been great this year. It's still not the move that a GM and an organization who's serious about winning a World Series makes. Both things can be true. You could have got players here that were productive. And also, you didn't make the moves that prove to anyone with a brain that your top priority is winning a World Series.
So if you if you look at this thing objectively, right? Because this is another thing that he does, right? There's a cut that they play. You know, the WFM plays these little teasers now for the shows, and it's like a little cut of something said. Well, Brandon Tierney's like, I don't know if he's the guy that the Yankees need to be rebuilt, and I don't know if Brian Cashman deserves to be the guy to rebuild them. First of all, I believe that's something you first heard here I think
Yep.
we've been talking about that for a very long time.
Yep.
Okay. And number two, every time that cut plays right before they come back on, Boomer makes fun of Tierney. He's like, well, IKF had 2 hits last night. Who brought him here? Brian Cashman.
Right.
So you mean to tell me that Brian Cashman brought in IKF when he could have got creative and brought in Carlos Correa, but didn't? Some other GM did. And the other GM did it because he fleeced him on a deal for Josh Donaldson.
Mm-hmm.
Or how he wouldn't trade prospects that he refuses to play to get the best starting pitcher on the market. Instead, brought in a guy that's injured, sucks, and now is injured, and he probably won't even pitch in the postseason. That's the Brian Cashman that you're defending, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
how about the guy who still hasn't signed fucking Aaron Judge?
That's a larger issue here. I don't know if we can specifically lay that at Brian. I know you like to, but that's a larger issue at play here. Or a guy who 2 of his top prospects could have traded to get a pitcher here when the Yankees were in a championship window, desperately needed starting pitching. A guy that he would have laid in front of a train track, speeding locomotive for, and Gerrit Cole wouldn't trade him, release both of them. That's the guy that you're defending. That you want to come on your #1 radio show and make Yankee fans out to be idiots every time that they call up your show and say Brian Cashman's got to go. That's the guy that you're defending. Okay, stick to football. See, I don't like being that guy when somebody has a show like that and has to be broader than just their expertise. But when you say dumb shit like that, stick to what you know at that point. Okay.
Okay.
So now it's our 300th episode. I wanted to open it up to the fans a little bit. And we asked for some of the fans' favorite, because I also want the show to be a little bit of a celebration, not only of our accomplishment. Because look, let's face it, dude. Everybody in their mother starts a podcast. Not everybody makes it to 300 episodes. Okay, we did. Okay, and part of that, and I said it earlier. I'm going to take. You don't want to? I'll take a fucking bow for that, man. Because I think we're really good at what we do. I'll toot my own horn. Okay,
I agree. Man.
Okay. And also, we're here because of the fans. Okay, so we're all here. The common bond here is that we're all Yankee fans. So I asked them, "What is your favorite moment as a Yankee fan?" Okay, so we're gonna go through them. We'll bang them out. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go. Let's start them off here. Got to find the tweeted it. My boy, the New York Chicken Buckets. One of my favorite followers.
Great handle.
He says, I have 2. My younger brother at Fantasy Dude 23 threw out the first pitch in a game on August 2nd in 1995. And then I got to meet Cone and Pat Kelly in the dugout. The other one was being in the right field bleachers for Derek Jeter's 3,000th hit.
Wow. I hope your brother's first pitch was better than Dr. Go Fauci's.
Dr. Go Fauci.
Dr. Go Fauci yourself.
Okay, then we got Brammer at Brammer99 says, my favorite Yankees moment was the walkout for Mo's last appearance. His future, he also put a future one here, okay?
Okay.
Will be the time Brian Cashman gets fired.
Yes.
At Shell895 says, Jeter's 3,000. My daughters and I had just lost their dad. We couldn't see a game in a few days. He had been sick for a while too. As soon as we got home, we didn't even put our luggage away. We turned on the game and yelled and jumped around. My husband would have
That's
been
awesome.
too. Ooh.
Wow.
See, and I think a lot, and I want to bring this up, man, because people say this all the time, and it's so true. It's hard not to be romantic about baseball. It really is.
It's impossible.
Because if you think about Tuesday night, man, that was everything. Honestly, I know it's the fucking Pirates, but how is that not just a special moment in maybe not in the history of the Yankees because they've done so much, but just a special moment. Like you'll always look back on that game, like bring up something from 2022, regardless of how it ends, that you'll always remember. Judge hits his 60th home run. It's 8-4. It's 8-4, 8-5, or whatever. 8-5. You know, he doesn't want to come out because the team is losing. sparks a fucking rally. G hits a walk-off grand slam. I mean, I couldn't stop watching the highlights the next
Nah,
day.
me neither, man.
So when people say it's hard not to be romantic, that's, you know, it's those types of things, and you remember why you love this game and why it means so much to you. And you know, and Shelly, you know, she encompassed that, and it probably was the hardest time in her life, losing her husband, losing her kid's dad, you know, and that, you know, Jeter's 3,000 hit kind of you know, brought them
Takes you out
together.
of it.
Yeah. So At Peace Now for Life says, I'd have to say Jeter's final game at the stadium. I watched his entire career from day one. It was magic. Also, the first game I took my daughter to was a win over Kansas City. So I know of you not taking your youngest because she's going to be 3 in December, but you've taken your other kids. That's got to be a pretty special moment, getting to take them to their to their first games. I mean,
yeah, I gotta say too, just anytime, it's as simple as anytime Judge has even been at the plate when they're awake, they're right next to me, holding my hand, whatever, just being there for it. They can't grasp what's actually happening in a sense like we can, but just that moment alone, just waiting for it, is something that I don't know that you get from any other sport. I don't.
Well, I would say like this. My daughter's 2, right? So she only knows 2 Yankees, Aaron Judge and Nestor Cortez. Why? I don't know why she remembers the name Nestor. I guess
My son's the same way. That's so weird. He loves Nestor and Judge.
I guess it's just it's a funny name. I mean, honestly, it's a funny name, especially to a 2-year-old. So she remembers it. But every Yankee she sees, she says, "That's Aaron Judge." Like I have the whole wall up here is all bobbleheads, and she goes, "That's Aaron Judge. That's Aaron Judge." But like I think there's only 1 Aaron Judge up there, maybe 2. One of the pops might be Aaron Judge, but then there's 1 bobble. But anyway, right? So I tweeted it and I sent you the picture of the first time he was going for 61. Dude, I didn't prompt her to do that. Like she got up on her chair and stood and sat right in front of the TV. She's never done that before.
It's baseball, man.
You know? And it's like, will I, won't I? I was like, I'm itching. Like I'm really itching to bring her to a game next year. Like I was talking to my cousin about it. Like maybe if we do like a day game during the summer when there's not a ton of people there, you know, she'll be 3 at the time. Maybe, you know, even if she doesn't want to stay the whole time, you know, it would be the type of game to do something like that. Like I really want, I think my first game was when I was 5. I don't know if I can physically wait another 2 years, but I'm going to tell you one thing. If anybody that knows me knows I'm not lying when this happens. I might not even make it to like walking through the gate, holding her hand and seeing Yankee Stadium for the first time together. I'm going to lose it, bro. Like I will cry. Like that's, and when people say like, if the Yankees don't do this, I'm done. If the Yankees don't win, I'm done. Like I can never, like, honestly, I can never say that because maybe it's a selfish thing. I don't know, but I need to have that moment with my child. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's hard to, you know, maybe people that aren't dads don't get it. Maybe,
I mean, those are the moments that you look back on in your life. Those are the moments that matter. It's not fucking waking up and going to work and getting promotions at your job. It's fucking walking into Yankee Stadium for the first time with your daughter.
Like you walk into my room, there's 2 things you're going to notice. I'm obsessed with the Yankees and I'm obsessed with Rocky Balboa. And do you want to know why? Those are the 2 things that I did with my dad growing up.
Right.
I watched Yankee games and we watched Rocky 4. And we watch, and to a degree also we watch Giant games, but I don't love the Giants as much. I'm a Giants fan. I don't live and die with them like I live and die with the Yankees. And I would say if I had to give up Rocky, ever watching Rocky again or ever watching the Giants again, I'd give up the fucking Giants.
Well,
you know?
It's why I say Manfred's going about this all wrong. He wants to grow the game. Talk to us. Talk to the fans who breathe baseball. Because we're the ones who are going to pass that love down to another generation. You're catering to people who don't understand, don't care about anything regarding baseball. What do you think? It's not about, and I came up with this too. You know why I think all this like pitch clock and not throwing over and speeding up the game is what they're masking as growing the game with the casual, fan. It's a known fact that the shorter something is, the more retention you can have with ad space and all of that. So if they can sell an ad in a 2-hour game and say, look, most baseball fans who watch the game tune out after an hour and a half or whatever, they're maximizing their profits. That's all this is. Because I promise you, I'm not going to love the game anymore by it being shorter or by pitch clocks or by not being able to throw over more than 2 times. If anything, it's going to discourage me from passing on the game that I grew up loving because it's too different. It's too much. It's all a money grab. And if he were to just stop for a second and talk to the people like us, like everyone in the chat right now, everyone who tunes into every single pitch of every game, pretty much, maybe then he'd have the right answer on how to grow it, because we're the ones who are going to pass it down from generation to then the next generation and the next. And I've said that for a long time.
Right. Honest to God, I'll be completely honest with you. If this wasn't something that I bonded with my dad over, I don't know if I would love baseball.
Right.
So that's what you need to talk to the dads. You need to talk to people that want to pass this on to their kids, the love of this game to their kids, not the TikTok generation that if it's not over in 30 seconds, they don't watch it because they don't have the fucking attention span for it.
Right.
That's not how you're going to grow the game. I understand you need to innovate. Baseball shouldn't be played today as it was played in 1923. We all know that. But there's a way to compromise. It's like we talk with the Yankees. Not everything needs to be from a computer. Compromise. Meet in the middle. Baseball growing the game needs to be done the same way. Like last night. Listen, I get Apple's point of view. Look, we got something everybody wants to see. Why would we give that up? You got to step in at some point and say, listen, we're cutting in. Judges at bats are going on the MLB network. We know everybody still doesn't get the MLB network, but we'll reach more people here. This is how we're going to grow the game. This is a historic record. This is something that people want to see, and you're hiding it.
I think you're wrong about this for a second. I think Manfred actively denied that to happen. I think he could have had the opportunity to take the rights back on the game and chose not to.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Step in, do something about it.
He chose not to. And which is what led me to my point about speeding up the game and it all being a money grab for advertising and all this. Because guess what? It's not MLB saying, hey, we need to grow the game. Can we get it on Apple TV? It's Apple TV trying to grow their brand and get live sports in.
Of course, it's more about Apple growing their brand and MLB putting money in their pockets. It's all it is. So he had an opportunity. Look, it's a well-known fact that MLB is the worst at marketing anything. It's one thing that the NBA does really great. I mean, Mike Trout's been the best player in baseball for the past 10 years. Would you know him if walking down the street?
Yeah, most people wouldn't know him if they fucking fell over him. So it all stems from that, and we could go on for hours about it, but
so let's read some more here because I want to get to everybody. I think it's only fair. Li Yankee King says, I know it's small, but Derek Jeter playing in Cleveland, he's my idol and my favorite player. I cried at his last game in Cleveland. Hey, dude, you know what? That's nothing to be ashamed of. I shed a few tears at his final game at Yankee Stadium, man.
My dad was screaming down. He thought something was wrong with me. He heard me hyperventilating. I was a mess.
Look, I'm lucky enough to live through Derek Jeter's career and this part of Aaron Judge's career, and I can say this confidently that the Yankees should not let Aaron Judge go just based on what he means to this fucking fan base. It's sometimes things mean more than what guys do on the field. And Derek Jeter meant that to this fan base, and Aaron Judge means that to this fan base. You want to grow, you want the next generation of Yankee fans. This is the guy. This is the guy. We just told you. How old is Jack now? 5?
Mm-hmm.
My daughters too. They're the only fucking guys that they know. Come on now.
Right.
This is how you want the next generation. This is the guy. These are kids.
And
these are who they know.
And he knows Cabrera because when he first came up, I kept saying to him, Jack, the kid's up. So now every time he sees Cabrera, he goes, Daddy, the kid, he's coming in.
And I love
Daddy,
Nestor, but like my kid only probably remembers his name because it's funny. Like, I mean, but seriously.
And he's got the mustache.
In the mustache, okay? Mm-hmm. This is from the OG Patrick, all right?
Hello, fellas.
I love this fucking guy. We need to be here. We need to hear more of Patrick. Favorite moment was the first time going to the old stadium in the 70s, followed by watching my favorite player, Bernie, and then connecting with you fellas over the last few years. Patrick, man, we fucking love you, bro. And we hope that you can make it over here at some point next year, and we'll catch you. If you come here during the season, we will make it,
worth your while.
No, I don't. Well, hold on a second, bro. We'll catch a game with him.
And then we got to go for it. If he's flying here from Ireland, I'm going out for drinks.
I thought you meant like get him a hooker or something.
No. He can get a hookers on his own if he wants. You just got to walk around the stadium for a minute.
Hey, listen, he's fucking Patrick. I don't think he needs to get a fucking hooker, bro.
He doesn't, bro.
Okay. All right, let's wrap this up here. Okay. Got a few more to read. All right, where were we? Okay, Welter 27, the walk-offs in 2009, the cry for pie. A lot of pie in 2009.
A lot of pie. Forgot about
that. Okay, Sad Hicksy. Okay, well, that's a good handle.
Okay.
96 World Series Game 6, the first time I ever saw them win a title. I started following the team in the late 80s when they were so bad. It was extremely satisfying for them to win. Okay. The Great Hambino. I know you hate this handle. Okay. It's just, you have to deal with it. Okay.
I talked to him this week, actually, I think.
You spoke to him about his handle?
Yeah, he tweeted something at me. Fucking guy.
You hate him? Just
nah, listen. Do I hate the guy whose his handle's named after? Maybe.
Okay. Hideki Matsui, 6 RBIs in Game 6 of the 09 World Series. It felt like an exorcism of the demons of 04, especially against Pedro. I wouldn't go that far, but it was very satisfying that a guy like Matsui clinched the World Series for the Yankees.
Well, Matt, that was pretty awesome because Matsui was a guy that everyone loved. But if he didn't have a huge moment like that, he's a guy who could have fell through the cracks when you think back on a lot of the great Yankees that made an impact on this team. Like you always would have said, oh yeah, Matsui, he was great. I loved him. But because of that 09 World Series, he's in the history books with the Yankees.
And the last one we got here is from Mikey T. Wells' perfect game, sitting a few rows behind the first base dugout. The final fly ball goes to right field. O'Neill disappears into the corner. Ball comes down. People goes nuts. My dad was screaming, holy shit, at the top of his lungs. It was awesome. So
there you go. Another moment with a dad.
See,
that you'll never forget.
So, I mean, just real quick, I would say mine was definitely Jeter's final home game in 2014, man. I mean, that was just fucking wild being there for that.
I said it at the time, and I wasn't there. I was watching on TV. And it sounds crazy because how spoiled have we been? We've seen so many World Series. And I know at the end of the day, when you're defending your team, it's World Series or bust. You know, when you're defending the team, it's World Series or nothing. So those moments should mean the most. But if you're going to ask me what the most memorable moment I've had as a Yankee fan, it was Derek Jeter ending his career that way, because to me, that exemplified everything into one. It was the epitome of every reason I love this game. It exemplified everything. Everything lining up and having that moment. You don't get that in any other sport. I will never forget that game ever.
No, I mean, I've been to postseason games before, and the emotion in that building rivaled any postseason game I ever attended. People, See, I always compare these two things. Mariano, I was there for Mariano Rivera's final game, and I was there for Derek Jeter's final game at Yankee Stadium, which I consider his final game. I know he played in Boston, but whatever. I don't fucking count that shit. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yankees were, I believe, they were definitely eliminated for Jeter's final game. I don't know if they were officially eliminated for Rivera's final game, but they were basically dead. We all knew they weren't making the postseason. But
They were eliminated.
They were?
Yeah, because both of those moments I said, these are the 2 years. If you're ever going to be okay with the Yankees being eliminated before the last games at home, it would be those 2 years because at least you knew that this was it. You weren't going to see them again.
Yeah, but I didn't know if they were officially eliminated.
They were.
Or like their elimination number was like 1 or something like that.
No, they were official.
Okay. So, but being in Yankee Stadium for Rivera's final game, it was like being at a funeral. Everybody was dead silent the entire game until maybe like the 4th or 5th inning when the buzz started, like when's Girardi going to get him in? When's Girardi going to get him in? And then you saw him warm up, and then it became like a fucking rock concert until he came in, pitched. You know, we all know Pettit and Jeter took him out, the emotion, and then everybody went home because what was there left to see? Okay. But Jeter's final game, it was like a fucking playoff atmosphere the entire, like the buzz, the anticipation. Like as soon as you walked out of the car, man, like you felt it. You felt the energy being there. It was, I'll never, unless I'm there for them clinching a World Series, I don't think anything will ever top that moment.
I don't know if even that would, because it's one thing for your team to win it all. But when you break it down to a player that was bigger than the game, that meant more to you than just baseball. Having a moment, his final moment, that was bigger than life itself, that you couldn't even have scripted, people wouldn't have believed it. Those two things together are what you connect to more than just a team winning everything.
Hey, listen, people that know me know this. If my daughter had been my son, her name would have been Derek. And then we all know why that would have been. Now, oh, you regret? No, I don't regret having a daughter. I love her more than anything in this fucking world. And the quote consolation prize is I got to name her after my grandmother. So I'm extremely happy with how everything turned out. But just to show you, like, that's what this guy meant to me. I was going to name my fucking child after him. So to be there for that, it meant everything. And I think like I said earlier, I think the only thing that could possibly rival that, aside from maybe being there when they clinch it, is when I walked through that turnstile for the first time with my daughter.
Absolutely.
Other than that, I can't imagine anything ever meeting the emotion of being there for Derek Jeter's final game. But to close the show out here, you know, fucking K, man, he brought this up, and he's like, and in not so many words, he was like, "You think Efros should pull a Robertson?" Meaning, and David Robertson didn't do this shit on purpose. He didn't blow that game to allow Derek Jeter the opportunity for a walk-off hit in that game. But I'm saying to myself, what moron is actively, and if you're in the chat, I love you, but you're a moron, actively rooting for the Yankees to blow the lead just so Aaron Judge can get another, because he was leading, he would have led off the 9th inning just so he could get another shot.
I think I put it best last night. I'm not actively rooting for it. It's just a situation where I would have been okay with it. Wouldn't have been as mad. Now, if they took the lead, that's a different story. I would have been just as mad. But if they tied it and gave Judge another at bat, I wouldn't have.
And then the chorus says after the game, he heard audible "Let's go Red Sox" chants from Yankee fans in the 9th inning. Like, are you people? I shouldn't say. I'm not.
No, you can't say that.
Is there something wrong? Is there something wrong with you? Is there something wrong with you people? Honestly,
crazy.
But it doesn't surprise you.
No.
Fuck Altuve. Where's Altuve? Oh, he's playing a game in Oakland and Kansas City's in the Bronx. These are the same fans that did that, doing the wave of in a one-run game against the Houston Astros. These are the same fans that are chanting "Let's go." I mean,
they were doing the wave the other day when in between Judge at bats. When he's going for the record, they were doing.
So am I
wave.
surprised by anything Yankee fans do? No, but I mean, like, come on. You can't be rooting for the Red Sox to tie the game just so Judge should get another at bat. It's not like it. Okay. Do you want to know the one scenario I would be okay with it? Is if this was the final game of the year.
Maybe.
I
still wouldn't be okay with audibly saying, let's go Red Sox.
That's a bridge too far.
If you want to sit in your seat silently to yourself and say, kind of hope that they tie the game here, that's one thing. But to actively root for it out loud, that's crossing a line.
The Yankees still have 10, 11 games left. If he doesn't get it done, I mean, he doesn't deserve to get it done. Let's be fair about it.
Yes.
You don't have to root for them to blow a game versus the Red Sox for it to happen. I know if you're there, you want to see history, but come on. I'll take the win right now and let him get another crack at it tomorrow. So I had a lot of fun tonight, bro. Maybe
it's a good show, man.
Saturday night shows have more energy than I anticipated. I was
kind of liked it.
Okay. I don't know if we're going to make it a habit, though. Okay.
All right.
So we want to thank everybody in the chat, everybody that's going to listen to this on Apple Podcast. We love you guys. You guys are the reason why we've done 300, and you're the reason why we're going to do 301. We're going to do 300 more. I don't know. I'm not going to promise.
Boy.
I'm not going to promise that, but there will be. We will.
We are going to start banging.
Okay, there you go. We will promise at least 301 next week. So thank you, everybody that's supported us through the years. We love you guys. It means the world to us. And it's the reason why we keep going. So thank you for your continued support of the show. Please follow us on Twitter at NYYST_podcast. Go to at NYYNewsTV for all the information for the event on October 11th. Get your tickets. The link is there. And that's all I got, bro. So, Chris, say goodbye.
Peace.
Before it hits the